Former President Donald Trump welcomed in the new year. Yes, 2023 by doing, well, what else does he do? Raging on social media, of course. On his failing platform,
Truth, Central.
he posted about some things that just decided to irritate him. First, let's talk about the southern border. We got the southern border here. Here's what he said. Our southern border is far beyond horrible. There is no country in the world that has such atrocious, unsafe, and disgusting conditions at their border. We are worse than any third world nation. The same third world nations that people are leaving through their border. Okay, sure. Just think, 2 years ago, we had the safest and most stable border in U.S. history. We did. Criminals and gang and drugs entering our once great country were at a decades low, and now our beautiful USA is being poisoned from within. A nation in decline. Make America great again and fast. Now, look, aside from all the horde stuff, basically calling immigrants or, likening them to being a poison, which is horrifying in its own. Let's go again and look at the facts. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do some facts. So let's look at the border policies. Are there any differences between Donald Trump's and Biden's border policies? Not really. According to Human Rights Watch, the Biden administration has continued to use and even expand on many of the same policies that had violated U.S. and international human rights law under Trump. So, for example, the biggest one they cite is Title 42. Now, Title 42, the Biden administration said, well, we want to get rid of it. But guess what? The Supreme Court said, no. No, you're not going to get rid of it. Now, Title 42 was the pandemic-era Trump program that basically used that pandemic to keep out asylum seekers, migrants, immigrants. So the Biden administration has been forced to keep that policy. And guess what? Since they've been forced to keep the policy, they decided, why not expand it? Yes, that's right. According to Politico, administration officials are now weighing plans to double down on that authority in order to expand border expulsions with respect to 3 nationalities: Cuban, Haitian, and Nicaraguan. Of course, Haiti, not good things going in Haiti. Of course, they continue to get hit by massive storms, and they've got poverty, corruption in the government. Now, months ago, their leader was assassinated. And so, yeah, you've got some big issues there that are causing people to leave, to try to migrate somewhere that's a little bit safer. And even with all the mass shootings that we have in this country, the United States is still safer. So now the Biden administration also weighed a transit ban, which would bar most people from applying for asylum, which is a right under U.S. and international law, if they had not already done so in one of the countries that they had passed through on their way to get to the U.S. border. So that, of course, is a continuation of a Trump policy as well. And Axios and CBS also reported that the Biden administration was considering increasing prosecutions of migrants who cross between ports of entry. And so all of that is basically a continuation and expansion of Trump-era policies. So, for one, it's an indictment of the Biden administration, but also it proves that Donald Trump is just incorrect. He has no idea what it is at all. He just thinks, I'm not in power, and so obviously the border must be bad. Yeah, I know, right? But again, policy-wise, there's not a lot of difference between the Trump administration's border policy and the Biden administration's border policy. Now, there is a difference, though, between when Trump was president and Biden when it comes to the situation at the border. Right now, we do have more refugees. We do have more asylum seekers that are requesting entrance into the country. And at this moment, well, let's be honest, border communities do not have the resources to handle it. Now, you could solve that problem by increasing border resources, and that is a job for the federal government that could actually help do that. And so they need that support from the federal government. Well, you know, who's running the federal government? Biden. So, you know, they should be able to work out something. They should be able to get immigration judges down to the border to help those communities, to help those cases, instead of shutting people out. That said, on to the next beef. Donald Trump decides to go after NATO. He said, "When I was president, I made member nations pay up all the money they weren't paying to NATO. The U.S. was footing a bill, almost the entire NATO bill, and I quickly put a stop to that. Hundreds of billions of dollars were then rapidly paid by these delinquent nations." The Secretary General of NATO said that it was amazing what President Trump had done. Yes, this is still him writing. "Thank you, but here we go again. The good old USA suckers are paying a vast majority of the NATO bill and outside money going to Ukraine. Very unfair." Now, it is true that Stoltenberg did say that Trump deserved credit in obtaining the $100 billion more in defense spending for NATO from other member countries. Okay, that's a fair point. Now, that said, there's not a lot of confidence by NATO members in the United States, which is why, of course, other member nations are starting to pay more, because they know that they can't count on the United States anymore. According to Time magazine, Europe's leaders are looking nervously at what the 2024 presidential election cycle may mean for U.S. support for NATO, which former President Donald Trump had long criticized and wanted to walk away from. And that's added to the urgency of efforts to get the U.S. to bolster NATO as much as possible in the next 2 years before a possible shift in the winds. Okay. So Sophia Besh, a fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, says the strategic shift, in Europe came about in part out of fear that the political changes inside the U.S. may eventually erode American commitments to NATO. She says, if the U.S. attention eventually shifts away from Ukraine and Europe, there is a sense, particularly in France, that strengthening the European pillar in NATO matters. So now, that's what they're saying. For me, I don't think we should be spending that much overseas, at least as much as we do in defense. Humanitarian stuff, definitely. More weapons and war, no, I don't think we should be spending that money. Right now, the Pentagon, just the Pentagon, has an $800 billion defense budget. Add to that, we're basically writing blank checks to Ukraine, who then uses the money to purchase weapons from U.S. defense contractors. And now, I get and understand helping Ukraine fight Russian aggression. But at the same time, understand that we're spending so much on weapons without a second thought, without even thinking about just, oh, you need more money? Oh, make it rain, as long as it goes to war, as long as it goes to bombs, as long as it goes to killing people. There's always enough money for that. But when it comes to actually, healthcare for everybody, paid sick leave, the number one question that always gets asked is, well, how are we going to pay for that? How are we going to pay for that? I don't know. We take some of that money that we're, spending on defense contractors and actually spend it on healthcare and childcare and affordable, medication or free medication for everybody who needs it. Just everybody, paid leave, free education, do all that stuff. Maybe if we weren't spending $800 billion on bombs. Just saying. Or, even other countries' defense. Especially countries that don't need it at this point, like Israel. But anyway, that said, the whole idea that Republicans, by the way, and this is something that I want to mention, the whole idea that Republicans are anti-war because they don't want to send money to Ukraine is not accurate. Look, under the Trump and Biden administrations, the government has been selling weapons to all these different countries, mainly the Saudis. Remember the Trump administration sending so many weapons deals, billions of dollars in weapons deals to Yemen. Oh, you want to call themselves anti-war? No, that's ridiculous. But for Ukraine, the reason that I believe that Republicans in Congress don't want to send money to Ukraine is because they like Russia. They prefer Russia. They like what they're doing over there. They love what Putin has done with anti-LGBTQ crackdowns. They see that Putin's Russia as a model for the United States that we should instead be emulating, We should be more like Russia. Why are we sending money to Ukraine when we should be more like the Russians? So understand, it's a foreign policy is a little bit more of a complicated situation. At the same time, of course, Donald Trump gets it wrong, and he's not anti-war. I don't honestly don't even know what his issue is, other than me, give me credit, give me power. That's what it is. So now finally, Donald Trump raged at Facebook. So, and you're not going to be surprised why. Well, Facebook has lost over $80 billion in value since deplatforming President Donald J. Trump. Also, it has gotten very boring and uninteresting. That stupid, unnecessary, and probably illegal move is now considered a major business mistake. I agree. So, he's trying to claim that Facebook or Meta has lost all this money just because they deplatformed Trump. What? No, the reason that, look, that Meta, and by the way, it is Meta, they lost all this money because they overinvested in their lame-ass metaverse. That's really the reason here, or the big reason. And of course, you have reduced ad spending that's being spent on, digital advertising on places like Facebook, etc. Look, mainly though, nobody wants to buy an expensive VR headset to go e-shopping at e-Walmart. We're not interested. Okay? No, not at all interested. Sorry. It's not, just because it's futuristic doesn't mean it's not stupid. The Cybertruck. Yeah, it's futuristic, all right. But it's also stupid. It's just really, really dumb. So, by all means, Zuckerberg, continue pouring so much money into Meta. Please continue into the metaverse. Maybe at some point, people in the metaverse or avatars will get legs, or at least decent looking legs. But as expected, Donald Trump airs his list of grievances, and they're all basically nonsense, non-factual. And what I'm hoping for in 2023 is that the DOJ gives him something to actually complain about. Perhaps in the form of indictments.